What's up, Ita Gang? Welcome to Dapp Central, your home for everything blockchain and crypto. My name's Fareed. As a part of today's video, we are diving into the latest updates here when it comes to Bitcoin, the macro markets, as well as Cardano. Now, if you've missed it, Bitcoin officially making a brand new all-time high, entering price discovery, where each Bitcoin is now worth $107,000 US. Now, we'll be breaking down some big news here surrounding Microstrategy, which continues to buy at over $100,000 per Bitcoin. We've also got the fact that members within the EU are now pushing against CBDCs and actually now beginning to focus more or less on a treasury based off of Bitcoin, following in the potential footsteps, right, of President-elect Donald Trump. Now, as we shift over into Cardano, we've got Charles Hoskinson polling the community, posing some cryptic tweets, and then also voicing a lot of criticism about the CF, but it looks like that drama may officially be squashed. Now, I also want to follow up here by representing, or at least showing you guys, right, a brand new SIP coming in here from a longtime viewer here on the channel, which could potentially resolve a lot of the issues that we've had here within the community, especially when it comes to voting within Catalyst, and most recently when it comes to governance. As we get ready to close out here, I'll highlight a couple of projects with some quick and simple updates. Now, if it's your first time stopping by the channel, my goal is to help you find your way within the growing crypto space. Again, welcome in. I would appreciate it if you found this comment or this content to be helpful. If you could smash that thumbs up. If it's your first time stopping by, consider subscribing to the channel. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, go ahead and leave those down below. Now, I also want to take an opportunity here to just say thank you, right, to all the viewers and all of the subscribers that have shown me a lot of support here. I released a video yesterday, which wasn't my typical content, but it was literally just sort of the straw that broke the camel's back, right? So I realized that I have to speak up for myself. And while it's not necessarily what I enjoy doing, I realize that it is something that will come with the territory. So again, thank you to everybody who's gone ahead and shown support. I'm not able to respond to every single comment, but I've done my best here to try to go ahead and at least acknowledge every single one of those. So that said, and without any further ado, let's jump on in here, kicking things off with the macro markets, looking at Bitcoin. So as it currently stands, we've got MicroStrategy, which has just bought yesterday 15,000 Bitcoins valued at over $1.5 billion. Now, this brings their total holdings, right, I should say, 439,000 Bitcoin worth over $45 billion with an average purchase price of $61,000. So they're almost up 2x since beginning to buy Bitcoin. And again, a lot of people were laughing at Michael Saylor as he was buying at around the $30,000 range all the way down to $15,000. And of course, as Bitcoin has rebounded, he is now in profit. Moving right on over, we have the launch of Ripple's USD fiat-backed stablecoin, which will begin trading today. Now, if you guys aren't aware, this particular team or blockchain, right, with the XRP ledger had a huge ongoing lawsuit with them. And that was recently dropped. Since then, we've seen the price of the XRP token going from around 50 cents all the way up to about $2. So obviously, a lot of people are bullish about them. Not only do we have the bull market, we have less regulatory hurdles and the fact that they're actually just about to launch now on the mainnet. Now, this applies to the XRP ledger as well as on Ethereum, where you'll be able to purchase RLUSD. And you can use that for a couple of different use cases that I'll be breaking down here in just a moment. So it reads, RLUSD, a brand new United States dollar-backed stablecoin, which has now been developed, of course, by Ripple, is set for a global exchange debut where, again, this will be taking place on the 17th of December. Now, Ripple also announced key appointments to its RLUSD advisory board, including the former governor of the Reserve Bank of India. And what we can expect here is that this will be available on exchanges such as Uphold, MoonPay, CoinMina, and then we're also expecting for it to launch on Bitso, Bullish, Bitstamp, Mercado Bitcoin, and a few other platforms. Now, there's no mention here of anything, for example, like Coinbase, Kraken, KuCoin, or even Binance, which obviously are some of the biggest exchanges. So hopefully those conversations are in the works. But if you're just wondering what you can actually use this on ETH or the XRP ledger for, well, you have remittance and money transfers. You have the ability to basically use this as a trading pair on centralized exchanges. And then payment service providers can now integrate this brand new asset to simplify, to give their end customers more options when it comes to trading or just providing payment solutions on their specific platforms. Now, moving over here, as we're beginning to really see a lot of adoption towards crypto and we're beginning to see more people becoming risk on, we have the crypto space eating TradFi's lunch right? As Coinbase revenue has now officially outpaced the NASDAQ. So if I scroll down here, we have the fact that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency exchange Coinbase is now beating the NASDAQ in terms of revenue for 2024. Now, that's not all. We also have the fact that centralized exchanges and DEXs are now growing at a rate of 2.5 to 4 times faster than TradFi. Now, it states that going forward in 2025, that we should expect stiff competition from the traditional finance sector, while DeFi protocols may actually end up beating the returns of major cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin and ETH. Of course, again, keep in mind that a lot of these DeFi protocols have way smaller market caps, meaning that it doesn't take as much in order to sort of boost the price or to get those bigger green candles on the charts. Now, looking here at a visual breakdown here, we'll see right there highlighted in purple coming in at number 5. We've got the revenue of Coinbase currently at 5.75 billion. And we can see that the return to date is currently sitting at 81%. And then we have the aggregate DEXs or decentralized exchanges, which cover spot and derivatives trading, coming in at a return for the year of 54%. Now I have another chart here, and I'm going to get myself out of the way there very quickly. We have Microstrategy there in red, as you guys can see, outperforming Coinbase, outperforming Bitcoin, outperforming the NASDAQ, as well as the S&P 500. So we've got both of those sort of traditional indexes or indices at the very bottom here. And then we've got Bitcoin, which is now up 80% year to date, followed by Coinbase, which is slightly higher, up at 96%. And then, of course, again, we've got MicroStrategies, which has been on a rip or on a tear here, up over 200%. So that'll do it there. The next thing I want to dive into is the fact that after the recent sort of debates about the US using, or at least beginning a treasury based off of Bitcoin, we're now starting to see members of the European Parliament following suit. So we have the European Parliament's Sarah Nafo, who's basically said that it's time to step away from the European Central Bank dollar or CBDC in exchange for something like Bitcoin. So it states here that that particular lawmaker called on the European Union to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve while rejecting the proposed adoption of the digital euro or the CBDC, which is currently under development, right, by the European Central Bank. This is exactly what we want to see. More people realizing that CBDCs are not the way to go, and that, yes, while they do provide some sort of utility, is that there are already solutions out there, including Bitcoin and platforms like RLUSD, as well as many other stable coins out there that can essentially do what a CBDC is meant to be doing. So I want to quickly highlight that there as well. Now, as we get ready to close out the macro here, we have the top crypto rankings. This is coming in here from the brand intimacy study, which is released every year. And we've got Cardano coming in at number 1. At number 2, we've got Bitcoin, followed by Polkadot, ETH, Tether, Uniswap, Solana, Binance, Ripple. And I want to say that that's USDC and then Doge. So to see Cardano here at number 1 is extremely impressive. Again, the community is massive. And yes, people may not want to admit it, but Cardano is by far one of the most known and loved blockchains out there. And it's also one of the most decentralized and secure. So I'll keep it at that, but really interesting to see this coming about. This was released, I want to say, in early January, but for some reason, there's been a lot of sort of retweets of this particular survey in the last couple of days. So I figured I'd just briefly share and at least remind the community of what Cardano has been able to achieve. Now, looking outside of just the crypto space here, we have Cardano landing at number 26. So we've got Disney, Tesla, and Apple, as well as Sony coming in there for for spots number 1 through 4, followed by YouTube and Mercedes. So again, when we're looking at the grand scheme of things outside of just crypto, Cardano still comes in at a relatively nice spot, which is number 26. That'll do it there for the macro news pieces. As always, if you guys enjoy content like this, please make sure to smash that thumbs up. I do appreciate it. If it's your first time stopping by the channel and you want more, consider subscribing. And last but not least, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave a comment down below. Now, I am also a single stake pool operator. So if you want to take your support a step further, consider delegating with the official Dapp Central Stake Pool, which is stake pool ticker DAPP. Again, thank yous as always for the support. Now, let's talk a little bit more about Charles Hoskinson here. He's been in the spotlight. He's always in the spotlight. We have him releasing some sort of hash, and a lot of the community has been trying to figure out, or at least understand, what he could potentially be referring to. Now, shout out to John Santi, who's put together an amazing response to this, breaking down what this could potentially be leading to, where he states that if this is a hexadecimal sequence, And if it's a part of some sort of zero knowledge proof or ZKP bridge between Cardano and Bitcoin with the goal of enabling a Cardano based DeFi smart contract layer for Bitcoin, this sequence might represent the following. Now, of course, this is super technical, so I'm not going to be able to dive into all of this here, but number one, he mentions a potential cryptographic commitment. Number two, some sort of ZK proof output. Number three, some sort of cross-chain state representation. Number four, some sort of validator script or address hash. And then number five, some sort of multi-sig or key aggregation. And then number six, some sort of encoded CBOR or some type of witness data. Now, we've talked about Bitcoin OS here on the channel exclusively. I've sat down with Adon Yago. Check out that interview. But again, we're expecting Cardano to play a bigger role here when it comes to acting as sort of this DeFi layer for Bitcoin and just for any other UTXO based blockchain out there, which could potentially include Dogecoin there as well. Now, moving on over, we've got Charles posing the question here about where he would like to see, or where we as the community would potentially like to see some of the biggest Cardano projects attending. And so he's basically mentioned that if you were to put up a $1 million grant to fund some of these projects' travel, where would we want that to happen in 2025 with the following options: Token 2049 in Singapore, Rare Evo in Vegas, Consensus 2025 in Toronto, or somewhere else. Now, I personally voted for Token 2049 in Singapore. Rare Evo crew, please, please, please don't get mad at me. The only reason why being is that I feel like all of these projects would show up anyway to Rare Evo. And I feel like something like Token 2049 really brings in everybody outside of just Cardano. And so if we're really trying to showcase what Cardano is able to do, I think that it would make the most sense to do that at a conference that encompasses other ecosystems or other networks there as well. That said, we do have Rare Evo coming in with the majority of the votes there with 35%. And as a really interesting response here, as a part of that thread, a couple of community members asked, why is the Cardano Summit not listed there? Well, Charles mentions, I will not be attending the Cardano Summit as long as the Cardano Foundation hosts it. I'll be going to Rare Evo instead. And a little bit of the reasoning why is that they're not going to be voting, or that they won't be supporting, the current community budget, and that they're not necessarily in favor of the approved community constitution. Now, he continues on to say, until there are leadership changes that result in community control of their organization, I don't consider them a part of Cardano. So extremely, extremely harsh words there. That has sort of stirred the pot here. The last week alone, we've had the Cardano Foundation's Twitter getting hacked. We've had a couple of statements coming out and just a lot of FUD about them using their own ADA for Project Catalyst. And this only adds more to the fire. So it is a lot of FUD. However, we do have Nicholas Cerny, who's the governance lead for the CF, who stepped in to at least respond to Charles's initial concerns. So this is in response to the fact that the Cardano Foundation will not be voting against the delegate endorsed constitution, which again was ratified not too long ago in Argentina, as well as I believe in Kenya. So there is a response here as it pertains to what exactly the foundation will be doing when it comes to supporting the constitution, where it states that they've always emphasized a distinction between the actual ceremony, which took place in Argentina, and the on-chain ratification, which again, I feel like there was a lot of misconceptions about. Now, nonetheless, it states here, we will be voting for the intersect constitution that was signed in Argentina and Kenya with the ADA that was delegated to them by the community. Again, keep in mind that the foundation is officially a community DREP. So if you want to delegate your ADA to them in order for them to sort of represent your voice in your vote, you can go ahead and do that right now. In closing, it states that the Cardano Foundation will continue to be a part of the evolution and improvement of the Constitution, in that they look to continue to participate within this particular process. We've got Charles following up stating, it's good to see that, they've had a change of heart. Well, now what about the actual budget, right? So there's been a lot of conversation about the 2025 annual budget for Cardano, where the Intersect Committee had mentioned somewhere around 150 million ADA all the way to 300 million ADA being used in order to sort of fund the development of Cardano for that year alone. So if I jump back here, shout out to Nicholas Cerny again for following up here, where he mentions that there are already ongoing conversations and participations coming in from the CF as it pertains to the budget, and that right now they're still trying to figure out a lot of this. So it states that this currently depends, on exactly what the budget will be requesting. And as long as all of that is reasonably sized and sufficient delivery safeguards are in place, that the Cardano Foundation is happy to basically support and endorse the community's decisions made. So let me know what you guys think down below. I know that that's been a huge and a hot topic here with the Cardano Foundation really sort of stepping up, being more involved, using their ADA, and IOJ and Emergo sort of still standing on the sidelines and watching in order to better understand whether or not they should be doing the same. Now, while we're speaking about governance, I have to bring up something, and I want to give out a shout out to Robert Ludwig, who's been a huge supporter here. He emailed me not too long ago after my last video where I highlighted the fact that with the CF voting, there's been a lot of complaints. Now, voting in general, as it pertains to Cardano, has been a huge problem. Historically, it's just been one ADA equals one vote. We've seen that in Catalyst. We've also seen that here within governance. And so Robert has taken the time to draft this beautifully put together SIP, which I personally believe actually deserves a video entirely on its own. So Robert, stay tuned. I'll try to get you some content for that. But this is the proposal for three-factor governance voting system for Cardano. So it states here, I'd like to propose a three-factor governance voting system for Cardano that aims to create a more balanced governance structure. The system combines a base voting weight, logarithmic ADA holdings, as well as a holding time multiplier to ensure that both democratic participation and stake-based influence, right, is implied or included while preventing manipulation. So I'm just going to, again, really just sort of gloss over the main points here, but I'll have a separate video coming out about this. And I want to do my best to share this out there because this is something that we need to tackle. And this is a really, really solid solution. And there's a lot of sort of thought that has gone into this, right? So I'll go ahead and break this down very quickly. So if you're not aware, the current system is based solely on your ADA holdings, where the voting weight equals how much ADA you basically have. One ADA equals one vote. Again, this is super linear without sort of any limits, right, to stop whales from impacting big votes, which we've seen with the Cardano Foundation more recently voting for Project Catalyst. Now, what does this actually lead to? Well, it leads to a disproportionate influence of large ADA holders or whales. It leads to a potential dominance of institutional actors. And then, of course, underrepresentation of the broader community or some of these smaller ADA holder wallets within the ecosystem. So with this brand new solution, also known as the three-factor system, first you have the base voting weight per wallet, right? Which basically means that for any sort of wallet that you have, it's going to be assigned a weight based on a particular threshold or particular category. Now, this requires a minimum qualifying balance in order to prevent abuse. Next, you have the actual ADA holdings weight. So depending on how much ADA you hold, you'll also be classified or put in a separate category. Now, the base voting weight per wallet accounts for 40% of your voting power, where the ADA holdings weighting accounts for 35%. And then we have the holding time, which is also sort of calculated as a multiplier, which accounts for 25% of the vote weight. So again, this is really interesting because it's not just a linear one ADA equals one vote. You have a couple of different factors here. And I think the most important is the holding time, because you may have whales that have just accumulated ADA for the sole purpose of actually swaying votes, right? And so if you're able to sort of add the time that a particular wallet has held ADA, that goes to show that, you know, they've been around here and that they aren't necessarily just doing something in order to have a big influence or in order to sway something in their particular favor or for their particular benefit or gain. And so there's a breakdown here of the implementation options for the holding time factor, or for that third portion there, where they break down different options or different methods that we could use in order to calculate that particular category out of the other three or out of the other two that I've previously mentioned. So again, from a technical perspective, there is a lot of math here. There is a lot of use cases. There's also even a piece here about the security considerations and different attack vectors that we want to keep in mind. And so again, I can't break all this down, but I just want to shout this out and want to thank Robert here for not only supporting me here as a community member, but also taking the time to put something so well thought out for the Cardano community. Now, if you are still hanging around and you're still wondering about what this has here in terms of impacts, we have the Cardano community, one of the biggest Twitter accounts here with over 1.3 million Twitter followers, having a roundtable talk discussing large voters in Project Catalyst, as well as DeFi protocols in the latest Project Catalyst funding round 13, which has just taken place and has just actually concluded. So if you guys want to catch this, it's about an hour and 15 minutes long, but there's really a lot of ongoing conversations with some of the brightest minds here in the ecosystem as to how we can potentially fix this recent issue, or at least this recent conversation or topic that's come about with the CF and some of these whale wallets, which have the ability to sway big votes here within the Cardano ecosystem. As we get ready to wind things down here for today's video, I want to briefly highlight the TVL and just sort of the state of the ecosystem, and then 3 particular projects which have some interesting, nice updates here that I'd love to share with the community. So in terms of TVL, right now we're sitting at $567 million. When we're looking at the amount of ADA, that's still hovering at around the same range. If we jump over into USD, of course, we've seen a massive spike here with ADA going from around 33 cents all the way to the highs of around $1.30. Right now, we're fluctuating at around $1.10 as we're continuing to wait for Bitcoin to really sort of set the precedence here. And once that begins to break into price discovery, we're expecting things like Cardano and ADA to also begin to move. Now, that aside, if I scroll down here, we have Liquid coming in here at number 1 in terms of TVL at $145 million, MinSwap at number 2 with $124 million, followed by Indigo at 90, and then Splash Protocol at $61 million. Now, the majority of the top 10 here all being DEX-specific platforms. Again, would love to see more DeFi platforms coming online, gaining that liquidity, but it is good to see that Cardano's TVL continues to hover and slowly increase over time. Now, as we get ready to wind things down here, we have a smart contract exploit that was discovered by the LenFi team. They were nice enough to let the community know, and they didn't want to share too much details because they didn't want malicious actors to take advantage of the actual bug. But what they've done is announced the discovery of the issue. They've now gone ahead and actually moved a lot of funds into a white hat hacker wallet, meaning that they're now in control of some of those funds. And they basically asked the community to go ahead and close out any open positions that might still be open or that might still be available on the platform. So if you have not closed out your positions, your funds should be secure, but make sure to go ahead and at least take care of that. And in terms of next steps, what they're aiming to do is basically re-audit, fix and patch that issue, and then redeploy their smart contracts and get things back online. So definitely make sure to keep an eye out on that if you're a LenFi holder or if you have any sort of open loans on their platform. Now, next we have Liquid, which I've just actually held an interview with them. I'll leave the link to that down below, who's now giving us a sneak peek of their upcoming version 2 of their platform. Again, right now, they're number 1 in terms of lending and borrowing right now in the space. But this looks extremely slick. And what I love about this is that this is on mobile. So this team continues to sort of level up their experience. They've been building here very slowly, very methodically. And they're also even talking about institutional adoption with what they're calling Liquid Pro. So make sure to check out that interview. Again, a lot of insights coming in here from Florian, one of the co-founders of their protocol. But jumping over here, we have a swatch of what we can expect for the platform to look like. And then, of course, again, we've got sort of a nice preview here from a laptop or from what would be a desktop version of the platform. Now, the very last thing I want to highlight here is the fact that Hosky is now going to NBX, which, if you aren't aware, is one of the top and leading exchanges when it comes to the European adoption of crypto. And they've actually also onboarded USDM, which is built and developed by Moneta. And you'll now be able to trade Hosky using the USDM pair if you're using the NBX exchange. So congrats to the Hosky team. Even though their meme coin is supposed to be completely worthless, it's now valued at a market cap of $250 million. So if you are a Hosky holder, you might want to check your wallet there because that particular asset has been mooning as people are now coming back into crypto, coming back into Cardano, and coming back into meme coins to be specific. Now, if you also missed it, Charles has mentioned what he's labeling as Quantum Hosky, which is basically a way to showcase the partner chain framework, which of course Midnight, the data privacy network, is going to be using. But in this particular instance, it's to really draw in that meme crowd, which Charles understands is here to stay. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about Quantum Hosky, the metaverse that he's planning to build out, all using the partner chain framework, of course, again, which offers an opportunity for Cardano SPOs, as well as just any other SPOs, right? Or consensus validators to be able to jump in and contribute while also earning a little bit of revenue from providing that network security. That will bring us here to a close for today's video. As always, if you found any portion of this to be helpful, I would appreciate you if you could smash that thumbs up. If it's your first time stopping by and you want more content like this, breaking down everything going on with the macro markets and Cardano, consider subscribing. And last but not least, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave those down below. That said, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.